Thanks, Shahina. I better be careful now. I work with Team GB, so some of you are a bit further afield. Don't want to give away too many secrets. So yeah, I'm a product owner at the English Institute of Sport, and today I'm going to talk about my recent experiences working with Olympic and Paralympic sports, athletes and support staff in digital products. So Team GB isn't necessarily a team, only at the Olympics. Every 4 years, most sports come together to form Team GB. So there's a lot of this going on. There's a lot of individual sports taking individual approaches. So what we're trying to do is combine that and make it more into a team throughout the 4-year cycle, sharing best practice, spotting trends, and sharing information. So a lot of the physiotherapists will talk to each other now from different sports, whereas they used to be very kind of sport specific in the past. So the vision of our products, there's 2 products. There's a web app that the athletes use on a day-to-day basis to record both quantitative and qualitative information around how they're feeling, what their energy levels are like, and then they put in information about what their session consisted of, so they can look back, and the coaches can look back and say where people might be lacking, where people are doing really well, all that kind of stuff. And then we have a separate website that Shahina mentioned, where all the medical records are stored. So security for me is something that I can't take seriously enough, especially with everything that's been in the news over the past few years. This is quite a new product, and that's something that is a non-negotiable. Whenever I'm talking building new features, the first thing that comes into my mind is security. But the vision of the 2 products is pretty simple. It's to make sports be able to make better informed decisions relating to athlete health, wellness and performance by utilising data. So what do I mean by building the right thing? Well, for me, essentially, I think it's, the value of things that you're building outweighs stuff that you're just putting in a product that people think they want. Answering important questions, solving difficult problems, satisfying user needs, that's what it's all about for me. And I first started thinking and obsessing about this on the 1st of March when a really excited stakeholder rang after a pretty successful planning meeting. And I was like, looking at my phone thinking, I don't answer this, because it's that stakeholder who's always really bubbly, really exciting, but then they'll throw something in your direction, leave you to it. Yeah, it sounds like you all know those kind of people. So yeah, the great news was that quite a big Olympic sport wanted to use our system. We normally put them on our system within about 3 months. We had 30 days. They already had a product that was doing what we're doing, but it's very, very different. And all the budgets had been agreed, the timescales had been agreed without being consulted. So, my initial reaction was, after about 5 minutes of that, I did I've got to be a bit more adult about this, so. Well, exactly what else would you do? So on the way back, I was just outside Bristol, coming back up to Manchester, started thinking about this, and it was all about making a plan. Trying to understand exactly how we're going to be successful in 30 days, given that we'd already planned. So on the train back, managed to arrange a meeting the following day with the sport and some of their key stakeholders. I was prepared to have difficult conversations because everything had been agreed without my knowledge. So who knows what they've been promised? And that's part of the job. Part of my job is to have difficult conversations, be realistic in expectation management. And the thing I was really keen on was to make everything consistent for the sport, because like previous speakers have mentioned, they've got a side to it as well. So understanding their side of things was really key for me. So I started just drawing up templates for how we communicated, how minutes of meetings were there, so it was in a consistent format. So everyone knew and understood. It was really easy to read, a consistent approach. So the following day, we brought everyone together, and that's everyone from our side, so myself as product owner, the developer who was assigned to the project. It was just the 2 of us in the project, so that was a challenge in itself. But then bringing everyone from the sport together, so like physiotherapists, nutritionists, psychologists, everyone you can probably think of, strength and conditioning coaches, coaching staff, and athletes themselves, to understand exactly the situation that they were in. And again, just being clear, consistent, and open and honest with everyone was a real factor of that, making sure that not only their expectations of us was managed, but what we expect of them as well. They need to be invested in it. If they want to make it a success, they have to be involved as well. So try to keep it really relaxed, having those initial conversations. Again, understanding what it is, what's working for them, what's not, and really getting into the detail, because they want loads of things, like they say they want loads of things. But for me, I'm putting everything into the product. So my main concern is the product and how we can gain value from that, i.e. building the right thing. So building the relationships, having relaxed conversations. A lot of the time, I'm in a really fortunate position because I'm going into places like the velodrome, and I can have a conversation whilst the Olympic athletes are training on the track, and we can just sit in the stands and have a chat with the people who are involved in the projects. So we had this sport, and they had 15 needs, and a lot of them I was just couldn't understand. I couldn't understand why. So I went searching. I started asking those questions. I turned into a 3-year-old, asking why, over and over again, until it became a lot clearer. I understood the reasons why they were trying to do things. But then my biggest challenge was trying to get them to understand that we can't do everything now. You may have questions that you need answering, but why do they need answering right now? So that's where I went in search to find the value that's right now. So for example, they wanted to do some research about jet lag. Now, it's a perfectly valuable thing to do. The next Olympic Games is over in Tokyo. Understanding what jet lag does to an athlete and how they are best prepared for that kind of thing, that travel is really, really valuable. But the sport I was working with weren't travelling for 2 months, so why build it now? And luckily, I had some understanding people in the sport who were like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. But then I had to get a bit tougher. Well, not quite as tough as this, but use that phrase a lot. It's not validated, it's not going in. Again, really difficult conversations. And I had to try and get people to understand this is the solution, and we're only going to build it once. We'll iterate, that's fine. It's the way that we work. But in fact, it needs to be validated up front, because if you don't know what question you're trying to solve, how are we going to build anything in there? So again, encouraging prototyping, experimentation, a lot of what Cara was saying before, so I won't go into that much detail, but as soon as it's valuable, and they can prove to me that it's valuable, then we'll start adding it in, and that's something that I think is really key as well. If you promise something, if you prove to me that this is valuable, and you don't build it in there, the trust just goes straight away. So keep your side of the bargain. If they've proved to you and they've spent the time doing something in Excel or another tool, especially when it's data projects, most of them are in Excel, build the thing later down the line. So at the end, I managed to get down to 8 things that we were going to build, and I got my developer on it in a way that making sure that you could understand what could go wrong. So if a nutritionist was away on a course for 2 weeks, make sure that all the information was gathered from that, so then they could start building that, and then they would be available to do the testing and acceptance and understanding those bits at the end of it. What was really key. Another key practice really was to set realistic goals. So Adam Peaty is quite different to most of us. Well, he's different to everyone. He's a world record holder. But his realistic goal last year was to win the World Championships. And for us, it was just to get things done in the project. But he's got stretch goals, and Neil talked about this yesterday in the workshops, which was brilliant. His stretch goal was actually win the World Championship with a world-leading time, faster than anyone else who swam in that discipline for that year. His next stretch goal was to break his own world record, which he actually did in the semi-final, and then beat that again in the final. But that's being realistic in those goals, that works for him. But it wouldn't be for us, it's just a case of trying to get across the line. So at this point, after we'd set the realistic goals, I made sure that we were taking the pressure off, because pressure can do different things. Different people can work in different ways when it comes to pressure. And key thing for me was just make sure there wasn't one person with all that weight. So having open, honest conversations with people across the disciplines to make sure that everything was going as they would like it. So the communication, I think this is another vital part of it really, was that once the development was going on, we stuck to the progress reports in a consistent approach, using the same ways that I'd done when I was planning on the train home, making sure that that was done, and just building it as one team really. There was no separation between the sport and us. And that's what I did. I showed the product rather than the Kanban board. It really annoys me when someone just says this is progress. People want to see progress. They don't want to hear about progress because you could be telling them anything. So people need to see it. And once it's out there, just get it out there. I mean, we're lucky in the fact that all our releasing's automated, which is great, and we can get things out there really quickly. Just get that feedback, get it in people's hands, and understand it from there. So, I'm coming to the end now, but the finish line is realistic for Adam Peaty to do that and to be a world record holder. But in fact, a lot of the time, it doesn't really matter how you finish. It might be times where you need to ask for help. There might be times where you've just given everything you have and you need to come across the finish line, like this example in the London Marathon last year. I can't say anything. I'd be like that after 30 metres going from the start, let alone 30 metres from the end. But that's great because sometimes you build up relationships and it helps you come together. And a lot of the time with your clients and customers and sports don't actually see the work that's going behind it. It just gets delivered, which leads me on to celebrating success. I think this is something that, as an industry, I don't think we do enough of. I don't think we manage to stand back and say, look what we've achieved. It's a photograph of the athletes who were involved in the London 2012 games. And yeah, they had a good party, but a lot of them, they were thinking about Rio in 2016. And we're the only nation who's had who's hosted the Olympics and then gone on to better the medal tally in Rio. And I think that is purely because we're always in pursuit of better. As a system, as a high-performance system, as sports, this is a great quote for me. Always train as you're number 2, trying to be the best, even if you are the best. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Chris. Has anybody got any questions? I really enjoyed that. Here's one from Rachel.
How did you find having to talk about product ownership and working in a digital way with people who are very specialist in nutrition because it's very big? You have to take them on a bit of a journey. How was that?
I'll just repeat that question. So how did you... you might have to do it.
It's a bit of a practice for later anyway, thanks. So just building what Clara was saying earlier, obviously you're working with people who are nutritionists, physiotherapists who are very expert in their area, but how did you find that they sort of took to you having to talk to them about product ownership and agile transformation, and how was that, and what did you do to get over it?
I use analogies in sport because that's all a lot of these people understand. Probably shouldn't have said that. I used a snooker analogy in that a lot of people will plan exactly how they're going to win a frame of snooker, thinking 3-4 shots ahead, but just focus on the ball that needs to be potted. And then if something's a bit more difficult in the future, then so be it, just do it. Go search for that value that is right now, forget about what's in the future. And that's the way that kind of works. And a few of them weren't snooker fans, so I had to take them through a bit further, but yeah, it kind of came through quite well. Yeah.
Good technique. All right, I'm going to let Chris go because I know that his voice isn't at full capacity because he's not been that well. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.